May Govanen, friends of Middle-earth, and welcome to the channel. Today we embark on a journey deep into the lore of Arda, pondering a profound question. Did the fall of Gondolin echo in the destruction of Númenor? Across the ages of Middle-earth, ruin has followed pride, yet few calamities are so deeply entwined in the music of the Ainur as these two great downfalls. Through fire and water, betrayal and doom, Tolkien wove subtle and sorrowful threads between the first and second ages. Let us walk this path together and behold how history, as so often in Tolkien's legendarium, is both a memory and a warning. The fall of Gondolin in the year 510 of the First Age was a cataclysm both intimate and immense. Built in secret by Turgon, High King of the Noldor, Gondolin was a hidden marvel, a last hope against Morgoth's dominion. Yet it was not armies that undid the city, but treachery. Maeglin's betrayal under the shadow of torture. The city, once a gleaming song of light amid shadow, was consumed by flame and sorrow, and few among the Gondolin. As recounted in the Book of Lost Tales, Gondolin's fall was a moment of profound loss, foretelling the end of elven glory in Middle-earth's first age. Now, turn to Númenor, that star-shaped isle granted to the Edain after Morgoth's defeat. Founded in 32 of the Second Age, Númenor was a gift of the Valar, a paradise and a sign of hope. Yet as the centuries passed, pride festered within the hearts of the Númenorians. They hungered for immortality, envying the elves. In 3319 of the Second Age, the great armament sailed west in defiance of the ban of the Valar, and Númenor was swallowed by the sea. Once more, a pinnacle of hope was undone by hubris and treachery. Though this time the betrayal was inward, against the will of Eru Ilúvatar himself. When we compare these two ruinous tales, we see not merely similar ends, but mirrored patterns of sin. Gondolin fell because of one traitor, Númenor because of a nation's rebellion. Yet at their heart lies the same folly, the rejection of trust in the higher powers, whether the Valar or Eru, and the desperate grasping at forbidden desires. Turgon ignored Ulmo's warnings to abandon Gondolin. Ar-Pharazôn defied the Valar themselves. Both acts of arrogance sealed their people's doom. The shadow of Morgoth lingers heavily over both disasters. In the fall of Gondolin, it was Morgoth's will, executed through deceit and brutal force, that brought ruin. In the downfall of Númenor, though Morgoth was bound beyond the circles of the world, his lieutenant Sauron, a spirit corrupted in the ancient days, continued his master's work. Sauron seduced the Númenorians with lies, encouraging them to worship Morgoth and fear death. Thus, even in the Second Age, Morgoth's malice echoed, poisoning the hearts of men just as it had devastated the elves in the first. Tolkien himself mused in the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien that the downfall of Númenor was, in a sense, the second fall of man. The first being their seduction by Morgoth in the Elder Days. Gondolin's destruction, too, embodies a fall, not merely physical but moral. Though its people were noble, they turned increasingly inward, clinging to splendor and secrecy. Just as Númenor became obsessed with prolonging life, Gondolin fell into prideful isolation, refusing to act openly against Morgoth despite Ulmo's counsel. The years of both events also mirror Tolkien's sense of slow decay. Gondolin's hidden peace lasted centuries after its founding, in 116 of the First Age, until its ruin in 510. Similarly, Númenor flourished for millennia, from its founding in 32 of the Second Age to its fall nearly 300 years later. Both civilizations reached breathtaking heights of beauty, wisdom, and art, yet ultimately carried within them the seeds of their own destruction. It is a tragic refrain. In Middle-earth, no great power lasts untainted. But it is not merely the events themselves that link Gondolin and Númenor. It is the survivors. From Gondolin came Tuor and Idril, whose line through Eärendil bore Elrond and Elros. Elros, the first king of Númenor, bridged elf and man, thus the blood of Gondolin quite literally founded Númenor. The destruction of Gondolin gave rise indirectly to the very kingdom that would itself face ruin. There is a deep sadness in this cycle, a glimmer of hope born from ruin. That in turn is devoured by a new pride and new betrayal. In Tolkien's world, history is not a line, but a pattern, a weaving of repeated motifs with subtle variations. The fall of Gondolin and the downfall of Númenor are not isolated tragedies, but part of a vast, sorrowful music, begun in the Ainulindal itself. Both cataclysms speak to the corruption of the good, not its annihilation. In each case, out of the wreckage came renewal. Gondolin's survivors, Eärendil especially, played a pivotal role in securing Morgoth's defeat. Númenor's faithful, led by Elendil and his sons, founded the realms of Arnor and Gondor in Middle-earth. This theme of catastrophe, Tolkien's own term for a sudden joyous turn at the heart of tragedy, rings strongly here. From Gondolin's ashes rose hope for a world free from Morgoth. From Númenor's ruins came the lineage that would one day unite elves and men against Sauron, culminating in the destruction of the One Ring in the Third Age. Tolkien's theology, deeply present throughout the Silmarillion and the Lord of the Rings, reveals that evil may mar the designs of the Valar, but never wholly defeat them. Even the means of each fall are eerily resonant. Gondolin's gates were thrown down by fire and steel. Númenor was swallowed by the wrathful sea, yet in both, natural elements, fire, water, earth, served as agents of divine retribution. It was as though Arda itself, wounded by the sins of pride and rebellion, rose up to cast down the mighty. This connection is no accident. Tolkien described Arda as a world in which the physical and moral orders are intertwined, where the land responds to the deeds of its inhabitants. Moreover, the symbols of both realms, the white towers of Gondolin and the Star of Eärendil on Númenor's banner, stood for purity and divine favor. Their fall is marked by the desecration of these symbols. Gondolin's towers collapsed under dragonfire. Númenor's temples were turned to the worship of darkness. Thus, Tolkien shows that when a people forsake their true purpose, even their proudest creations turn to dust. And yet, the star endures. Elendil bore the memory of Númenor into Middle-earth, just as Idril bore the hope of the Eldar into the Age of Men. Thus it becomes clear that Tolkien's intention was never merely to tell two tales of destruction, but to whisper of a deeper truth, that all mortal endeavors in Arda, unless rooted in humility and faithfulness, are destined to fall. Gondolin and Númenor are twin warnings, each shaped by the failure to heed divine counsel. Ulmo warned Turgon thrice to abandon Gondolin and seek safety elsewhere. Eonwë's summons after Morgoth's defeat urged men toward wisdom, yet the Númenorians, in their later pride, chose to defy the Valar themselves. In each case, the voices of hope were silenced by fear and pride, and the fall became inevitable. In a deeper metaphysical sense, Tolkien suggests that the fall is necessary for growth. Without Gondolin's ruin, there would be no Eärendil sailing into the sky to plead for aid, no salvation of Middle-earth. Without Númenor's destruction, there would be no Aragorn, heir of Elendil, to reclaim the thrones of men in the Third Age. This concept of Felix Culpa, the fortunate fall, a theme Tolkien drew from Christian theology, saturates the legendarium. Suffering and loss, while grievous, lead toward a greater redemption that could not otherwise have been achieved. Even the imagery Tolkien employs resonates across the two tales. Gondolin's destruction by dragons and balrogs, its white walls blackened by smoke, mirrors the drowning of Númenor's marble cities beneath the grasping seas. Both cities are described in their primes as dazzling and fair beyond mortal comprehension. Both became lamentations sung by those few who escaped. Songs carried across ages, memorializing beauty lost to pride. Tolkien, master of deep sadness, wove a mythological memory into Middle-earth, where songs become the vessels of history, and history itself a kind of long defeat, tempered only by fleeting victories. In the end, Gondolin and Númenor are not merely places, but embodiments of the inevitable fate of all things mortal within Ardamard, the world tainted by Morgoth's rebellion. Their downfall, far from being isolated tragedies, becomes part of a cosmic pattern of pride, fall, and renewal that echoes from the first music through the end of the Third Age. In their ruins lie both the ashes of sorrow and the seeds of hope. Thus, we see that the fall of Gondolin and the downfall of Númenor are not distant tragedies divided by the seas of time, but twin reflections in the great mirror of Arda's sorrow. Both were born of pride, steered by betrayal, and punished by a grief that reshaped the world. Yet, neither ended with absolute despair. From the burning ruins of Gondolin came Eärendil, shining as a beacon of hope. From the drowning of Númenor came Elendil, who bore with him the memory of the lost West and a lineage that would in time bring healing to Middle-earth. Tolkien's vision, as glimpsed in the Silmarillion and echoed in The Lord of the Rings, reveals that no fall is final if memory endures and hope is kindled anew. In this, Gondolin's tale and Númenor's tragedy teach the same lesson. Though pride may summon destruction, faith and endurance can yet salvage light from uttermost darkness. It is fitting that Aragorn, last of the Númenorian kings in exile, sings songs of elven kingdoms fallen, honoring Gondolin as he marches toward his own peril at the Black Gate. In him lives the memory of both great ruins, and the promise that ruin is not the end. The echoes of these falls reverberate still through the ages, whispered in the ruins left behind, sung in the halls of Rivendell, and etched into the hearts of the faithful. To study them is to glimpse the woven tapestry of Middle-earth's history, where every thread of sorrow is entwined with one of hope, and where even in the breaking of the world, the beauty of the music remains. And so we end where we began, with a question that has, perhaps, become an answer. The fall of Gondolin did not merely echo in the destruction of Númenor, it became its shadow, its warning, and its legacy. Namari Morenini, may your road ever lead you to remembrance, and your heart to hope.